What's happening, everyone? It's Scott from WFLBC, and today it's the last video of 2018, and I want to spend some time giving attention to the camera that I use the most out of all of my cameras, and that's the Fujifilm X-T20. It's my workhorse camera. I use it for everything, but I never talk about it because it's always being used for making videos about other cameras. So everything you see from here on out is going to be filmed on the X-T20. I'm going to try to take some pictures, but the place we're going to may not facilitate that. End of 2018, Fujifilm X-T20, let's go.
Were any of them kids?
Yes. That was pretty cool. Titanic. So there was no photography allowed in there. So this has turned into pretty much a video-only revisit of the Fujifilm X-T20. So I don't know, maybe we'll find somewhere for me to go and take a few photos with this thing, and then we'll wrap it up. X-T20. I ended up not shooting really hardly any stills at all because we weren't actually allowed to do any photography at the Titanic exhibit, which is fine. I did a bunch of low light video, which this thing is really good at. Now, I'm filming this right now on my X-T100, which I normally use as my out in the field camera, and this sort of just stays as my studio camera because I know it better than any other camera that I have, especially for video. I can lock it off on this tripod, set it all up, and it just does exactly what I want it to do. The X-T100, great stills camera, but if you need a video camera, this is absolutely a better choice. It costs a little more money, but it's definitely a much better video camera than the X-T100. There's going to be a new version of this camera coming out this coming year, 2019, and I bet you it's going to be in the first half, sort of following on the pattern from previous generations. the X-T1 came out, then the X-T10 came out shortly after, the X-T2 came out, then the X-T20 came out shortly after that. The X-T3 has just come out, so I would imagine that an X-T30 is going to follow that camera. And I think that if they sorry, this has a grip on it, so if you're wondering why it sticks out weird over here, that's just an L plate for a tripod. If they give the X-T30 90 to 95% of the features of the X-T3, so the higher bitrate video, the autofocus tracking improvements, the Eterna film simulation, all that stuff in a non-weather sealed body, just like this has always been a non-weather sealed, slightly more consumer grade version of the XT series of cameras. So you don't have the dedicated ISO dial, it becomes a mode dial. You do have a shutter speed dial and an exposure comp dial. I mean, if that's cheaper than the X-T3, I would imagine it's probably going to be, you know, $1,100 maybe for a body, $1,200. The X-T3's $1,500. To get that in this package, I think that's going to be one heck of a camera. But the X-T20, this is still the best camera that I own. It's not the most expensive camera I own. It's not the most prestigious camera I own, but it's the best camera I own because it does everything really, really well. So, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to compare this to. I could compare it to the X-T2, but it's, you know, 90 to 95% of that camera for less money. To compare it to the X-T3, I think is a little unfair, but I mean, you're still looking at maybe 80% of an X-T3 for quite a bit less money. You can find really good deals on these online now. If you want to pick up a used one too, that's always an option. X-T20, still my workhorse, I still love it, and it's the camera that I use more than any other camera that I own, and that's a lot of cameras. So I think that that is pretty much going to do it for 2018 for this channel. It's December 30th today, so assuming I get this edited and out before Tuesday, then it'll be the last video of this year. Or maybe it's the first video of 2019, and Happy New Year to everyone. Who knows? I've got some stuff coming up. I've got that Pentax KP. I had to send it back because the one I got had a defective shutter. So they're sending me another one. I want to do a comparison video. Somebody in one of the comments of the X-T100 videos that I've done asked whether they should look at a used X-T1 versus an X-T100. And I thought, you know what? That would be one hell of a comparison. 2 generations newer camera, but it's entry level versus what used to be the top of the line in the X series 2 generations ago. So I got one. I got an X-T1 with a battery grip. It's the Miike battery grip, so it's not a factory battery grip. This one's in pretty rough shape, but everything still works great. The sensor's nice and clean. I've had no problems with it whatsoever. Needed a new eye cup. The eye cup fell off, so I've replaced a bunch of stuff to get it back up into usable condition. And so I'm going to do a comparison between an X-T1 and an X-T100 to see if this thing still whoops that thing, and I have a feeling that it might. So that's going to be a really interesting comparison. I'm off to Mexico in just over 2 weeks for a wedding, and I believe that I'm going to have a lens from Fujifilm for that trip to shoot some wedding shots. I'm not the wedding photographer, but I will be doing some wedding shooting and doing a video about traveling with gear to do photography, like if you're traveling to be a wedding photographer or like to work as a working photographer who's also on vacation. How do you pack for something like that? And it's not as straightforward as it sounds, I don't think. But I have a way that I do it. I have certain gear that I bring, certain gear that I leave behind, and it won't be the same for everybody, but I'm just going to show you guys what I have and what I use, and that's it. Man, thank you guys so much for coming by and watching all these camera videos that I've made this year. This is the first year I think that I've ever made a monthly income from the internet, and I've been doing Twitter and Instagram for years. I have a lot more followers there than I do on YouTube, but they don't make me any money aside from getting the odd free thing from companies, which is nice, but I mean, that doesn't pay the bills. So being able to talk to you guys every week, it's supposed to be weekly, but it's not, but being able to talk to you guys and actually be able to get money in the bank for doing that has been great. So thanks again for just being a part of this journey this year. YouTube and making videos has been absolutely eye-opening experience for me from a technical point of view. I've had to learn it all from scratch. I know nothing about it. So coming from photography to video, you would think that a lot of it would be transferable, and it is, but there is definitely a big learning curve when it comes to a lot of video stuff that I wasn't aware of till I started doing this. And yeah, thanks to everyone who subscribed and leaves comments and likes and even thumbs down and negative comments. They're all part of the learning process for me, and I appreciate every one of them. Unless you're a total then I don't like it at all. But I appreciate your right to leave said comments on my channel. I'll see you guys in 2019. Be good to each other. Bye.